Welcome to Son of a Glitch. Join us as we explore some of the internet's craziest glitch stories. Story 1. This happened last Thursday morning, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm not a paranoid person. I work in IT, live alone, no drugs, no alcohol. I say that because I know how this sounds. My alarm is set for 7 a.m., but I woke up at 6:20 for no reason. Just wide awake. The room was dark except for the glow of the TV, which was weird in itself. I never fall asleep with it on. The news was on. A live report. A female anchor talking about a school lockdown in Michigan. There had been a credible threat reported by staff, she said. I remember that line exactly. She looked tense. She stumbled slightly on the word incident. They showed a blurry aerial shot of the building, and the screen read, "Breaking, East Hill Elementary, active lockdown." I thought it was strange they'd be reporting it so early, like it had just happened, but I didn't think much of it. I left the TV on, went to make coffee, scrolled my phone for about 10 minutes. When I came back into the room, the news was still talking about the same thing. But not as an update, it was identical. Same anchor, same expression, same slight stutter. Even the shaky aerial footage repeated, with the exact same freeze frame glitch halfway through. I checked the time, 6:34. I hadn't been gone long. The live ticker kept moving normally, showing the right time. No rewind. No video replay indication. I grabbed the remote to check the program info. It just said, Live Morning Report, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Nothing made sense. But here's the part that really messes with me. Later that day, I looked up East Hill Elementary. I figured it might have been a local news story that didn't go national. But there's no school with that name in Michigan. None. Not in Oakland County, Wayne County, or anywhere. There's no news reports archived for that day. No lockdowns. No threats. No anchor with that name. I even asked a co-worker who watches the same morning station. He said they were covering traffic delays and a mayoral election that morning. No school lockdown. So either I hallucinated a full segment with fake footage and fabricated names while holding a hot cup of coffee, or I watched the news from somewhere else. Somewhere that bled into here. Just for 10 minutes. Has anyone else ever seen a live broadcast that no longer exists? Story 2. A few minutes ago, I brought my bowl of cereal into the kitchen so I could prepare to clean it. I left it on the counter, and my mom walked in the kitchen and asked if the bowl was mine, and I said yes. She put the bowl in the sink and leaves. I go to the sink to wash the bowl, and the bowl is gone. There were only 4 other dishes in the sink, and they were plates and 2 pots. The bowl just vanished in thin air. Me and my mom searched the entirety of the kitchen, and there was nothing. The weirdest part is that the bowl came in a pack of 4, and for some reason I found all 4 bowls, but none of them were my cereal bowl, and only one of them were in the kitchen, but it had last night's dinner in it, which could only mean my bowl of cereal never even existed, and there is no evidence, besides my mom and I witnessing it, to prove I even had a bowl of cereal. What is going on? It was Cocoa Puffs BTW. Story 3. This is one of many glitches I posted back in 2014 under the username Daisy_Glaze. I lived for 7 years in an apartment where a lot of crazy incidents kept occurring, and this wasn't the craziest, but it's probably the easiest to relay. This actually occurred either in the late 90s or early 2000s, back when ICQ and MSN Messenger were popular. I'd pop downstairs for an apple and return to my room to continue a chat, and I remember being oddly aware that the apple in one hand was forcing me to type one-handed. I mean, it was obvious it would, but it felt strange the way the consciousness of and cause of the impediment floated into my head, almost like an unconscious sign that I should take note. Then literally the next thing I was aware of was that I was typing with both hands. I immediately had a WTF moment. I know I couldn't have eaten the entire apple, core and all, because A, I was highly aware there is cyanide in apple seeds, and yeah, I know now that a few wouldn't hurt but didn't then, and B, I have issues with texture and can't stand the texture close to the core, and would automatically spit it out if I accidentally bit it. My mom used to complain about me wasting half the apple when I was a kid, so this wasn't a new quirk. Thinking maybe I'd had some kind of spaced-out moment and uncharacteristically tossed it in my wastebasket, I got up to check, even though I had no memory of getting up. Nothing. Went downstairs and checked the trash, nothing. Hell, I even went outside and hunted around the house, because at that point I was convinced I must have spaced out and discarded it somehow, despite nothing of the sort being in my history. The idea of throwing trash out a window is an abomination to me. I wasn't on any meds, didn't do drugs, drank quite a bit on occasion, but never in the daytime. I was totally sober and clear-headed. When my BF came home, and I relayed the story, he also conducted a hunt for the missing apple. No luck. To this day I have no explanation, but probably because I was so used to similar happenings it just became one of those amusing mysteries I occasionally ponder, but am not particularly bothered by. Story 4. I am skeptical of everything paranormal and the like. I like science and simple, rational explanations. People see ghosts, I see car lights, or pipes knocking, or something else that can easily explain it away. I watch ghost videos and conspiracy videos to debunk them and find the real answer. I don't tell other people or ruin anyone's enjoyment. No comments on videos calling it an obvious fake. It's just clean and tidy in my brain. So experiencing something recently that I have absolutely no rational explanation for has been utterly jarring. There is a postcard that has hung on my fridge for the last 14 years. It has moved with me between 3 apartments, and I always return to the same spot on the top of the fridge. It was a postcard my best friend sent me while he was on vacation. Back in 2011, I'm in my 40s, my bestie called me and we talked about how he was going to visit Niagara Falls. A stay cat-ian, really, since he lives in Western New York. He said aside from going to Clifton Hill is kind of like an amusement park on a street. There are wax museums and arcades and stuff, and drinking and going to the haunted house. He never really even visited the falls, and so he and his partner were going to go to a nice hotel and do tourist-wise stuff to relax. I remember we chatted about our antics on a visit to the haunted house as well in this conversation. At the time, I was living in MA, so I asked him if he wouldn't mind sending me a postcard from Canada. I like to collect them and even used to trade with people online. I have a little shoebox with postcards from all over. He said he would, and it was no trouble because hotels usually send mail for guests. True to his word, a few days into his vacation, I received a postcard. It was very simple and tasteful image of the falls. My friend and I are both silly people, and I half expected something funny or outrageous. There was a little triangle of blue sky in the top right, but the image was mostly of the falls, with what might have been a doctored rainbow in it as well. It got torn in 3 places in the mail: top center, top right corner, and bottom right. The message on the back was short and sweet, and I remember it had no stamp, just the Canada postmark. It made me really happy to have a postcard from a friend, and so it went up on my fridge rather than into the shoebox. I should say here that I'm autistic. I got the spatial awareness, speed reading, and slight social awkwardness autism. This means I know where everything is always. If I go to a friend's house, my brain catalogs everything visible almost immediately. Friends will always ask me, "Did you see where I put my X?" And I can think a minute and respond, "It's on the coffee table in the living room," and it will be there. I notice when things change immediately. It doesn't usually stress me out, but my brain feels the need to tell me about it. For instance, 5 months back, I watched one too many Dear Modern videos and rearranged my apartment to have better energy flow. However, to this day, I come out of my bathroom and my brain goes, "Why is the Papasan chair in the wrong corner of the room?" Anyway, I kept the postcard on my fridge and just left it there. I liked seeing it, and while I was living in MA, it was a happy reminder of a connection between my friend and I. I had several people comment on over the years, asking why I had a picture of Niagara Falls on my fridge, did I travel recently, etc. No, I'm just sentimental, and also I don't like changes in my environment, lol. 3 years ago, I moved to Western New York, and I put the postcard of the falls on my fridge as usual, internally chuckling that I'm 30 minutes from the real thing. This is silly. But it stayed up there anyway. Multiple times a day, I went to the fridge and saw the falls. A few days ago, I came from the store with a bag of groceries, and, after stuffing a bag of frozen mangoes into the freezer, I caught sight of the postcard and just froze. I blue-screened. I couldn't process what I was seeing. It was so startling, I had to walk into the bathroom for a minute, try to convince myself I was exhausted, hallucinating, or something, and that it would be back to normal when I went back out there. After a few deep breaths, I went back to the fridge. My postcard, the one I had looked at nearly every day for 14 years, was no longer Niagara Falls, but instead there is a beach with some buildings on the left, ocean on the right, a little mountain in the distance, deep, deep blue sky, and a huge rainbow covering half the card. My hands were shaking when I pulled it down from behind its dusty magnets. The postmark, dated 2011, was now Hawaii. I turned the card over and over. The tears are in exactly the same places. It's still from my best friend, but instead of going to Niagara Falls, he and his partner went to Hawaii. My brain could not accept this. I needed a rational explanation. After a couple minutes, I decided there must have been a postcard stuck to the front of this one, and the dry air in my apartment finally dried out whatever had them stuck together. I knew if I just looked around under things, I would find the Niagara Falls postcard. In hindsight, this was totally irrational as my brain was ignoring all the past convos about Niagara Falls with the bestie, with people who saw the card, etc. I tore my kitchen apart, groceries still thawing in their bag on the floor, and searched every nook and cranny, under every appliance, behind everything. It was nowhere. I then moved on to check the shoebox of postcards, not there either. And finally, I went through my whole apartment. It's a studio and I'm pretty minimalistic, so it wasn't a lot to search. There was no sign of it. No one aside from myself, and building maintenance has been in my apartment since I've lived here, by the way. It's too small to entertain anyway, so I visit people at their houses instead. I don't have any pets either. Just a couple of house plants, but I don't think they move around much. I called my friend nervously and asked him about it. He ended up putting the phone on speaker, so I could tell his partner about it as well. His partner listened and went quiet. Then he said, "This is too weird because we did consider going to Niagara Falls for a split second." And my bestie chimed in, "Yeah, I remember we were worried about weather or cancellations or something, but in the end, we said screw it. How often will we get a chance to go to Hawaii?" They both went quiet for a moment, and I was worried they thought I was crazy when the partner laughed and said, "Oh my God, you're from another timeline. What's it like there? Who's president?" My discomfort vanished and I said, "I'm afraid the butterfly flap of you guys going to Niagara Falls instead of Hawaii did not change the election results." That's it. I'm still reeling, honestly. My brain can't grasp what's happening. Is it a glitch? Did I really misremember something I saw every day for 14 years? Something I had multiple conversations about with numerous people? The postcard is still on my fridge, though I might take it down. It makes me a little queasy to see it now, honestly. Has anyone else had anything like this happen? Did the object ever return to how you remember it? If nothing else, typing this out has been kind of cathartic. Thank you for reading. Story 5. This happened just now. I'm a little freaked out. So I live alone in my own house with my foster cats. Last winter, the shelter gave me a thermal cat house originally meant for outdoor cats. My house is old and gets cold at times. I have it sitting in a deep recessed nook in the wall that might have once been the frame of a bookcase. The cat house is rectangular and relatively heavy for being made of foam, several pounds. It's sturdy, and the cats are used at being there. Well, this afternoon I took a nap in my indoor hammock in the same room, which I sometimes do on my day off. I was alone with the doors locked. I have a security alarm that was set. I didn't hear anything while I was napping, but when I woke up, the cat house was all the way across the room, sitting on the floor by my hammock. It was sitting perfectly upright, and a cat was laying like Snoopy on top of it, perfectly at ease. How did it get there? The cats have knocked it over once or twice, but it always made a significant noise and landed sideways or upside down, right next to the nook. Not all the way across the room, sitting upright. I freaked out and called my mom. She had me stay on the line while I looked all over for intruders. Nothing. The alarm was still set. Nothing else was out of place. There was not even any signs of raccoons coming in or anything, though I have no idea how they could have done it either. What happened? Story 6. I was reminded of this story today, and thought I'd share here to see if anyone else has experienced something similar. About 9 to 10 years ago, I was moving apartments and living in boxes between two places for about a week. For some reason, I decided to keep my very special necklace that was once my grandmother's in my wallet, because I thought it would be safest with me. Well, I ended up getting pickpocketed, and I was devastated. About 4 years later, I found the necklace in my pretty small jewelry box that I had used countless times between losing and finding the necklace. It still scrambles my brain a bit when I think about it, but I'm just grateful to have it back. Anyone experience anything similar? Story 7. I had something happen recently that has been driving me nuts recently. I was helping my folks go through some of my old toys from childhood to determine what to donate and what to keep, and I stumbled upon this Trex toy I was really fond of as a kid. This Trex toy is a very specific toy. It's a 1990s Imperial light-up Trex. This thing is hefty, almost a foot tall of hard plastic that's neon green with a voice box in the chest, that when you push the red button on its chest, it roars. Def giving bootleg Godzilla. Now this toy has its share of wear and tear, and at one point my childhood dog got a hold of it some years ago and chewed the foot off from its leg. Being a favorite toy, my dad put the foot back on by running a screw through the bottom of the foot up into the leg to keep it in place. Now I chose to keep this bad boy and packed it up and took it home. I'm almost in my 30s and I wasn't about to donate this integral part of my childhood. So I packed it up into my closet back at my own place almost an hour away from my parents' place. Now I'd forgotten about the toy in the past few weeks until the event in question. My partner and I were out visiting my folks and decided to take a walk around a park nearby their place. While walking around this park, I spot something in the grass near a t-ball field. I kid you not, it was that Trek's toy. Not only that, it has the screw up the leg just the same as mine. My partner thought I was crazy when I tried to explain why I was so freaked by it. I took it home to compare it with the one that I took home a while back, and it wasn't in the box, despite me distinctly remembering packing it up and taking it home. I asked my folks if there was a chance I may have left it behind originally, and they also remember me packing it up and leaving with it. Yet it's not here, and that doesn't explain the park. How'd it get there? I guess it's possible this is a different Trex, but it's the same model. Same leg repair. It just doesn't make any sense. Story 8. I just found out about this subreddit, and I am very happy/exited that I might finally get some feedback on something that I have no explanation for. Here's what happened. In 2017, I worked at a fair as a garbage man. My job was to remove every piece of metal and wood before and after any event. The area had 10 halls in total. I was working with one other colleague, his name was Tom, on 2 out of the 10 halls. The other 8 halls were being worked on by my co-workers. When working these halls, it is usually a 10-hour work shift from late evening till early morning. So me and my co-workers start to work. We worked a little, took a break, worked a little, and so on at one point. The halls were still full of metal and wood. We took a pretty long break, and we just lost track of time. When we realized how much time passed and how much work we still have left, we rushed back in one of the halls. Everything was cleaned up. Both halls. It wasn't me or Tom. The last time we left the halls, they were full with wood and metal. I know for a fact it wasn't any of my co-workers. And during the night, there are very few people even roaming the area in the first place. The only people even allowed on the premise are ALBA, my company, Diaz, a second company mopping the floors and do other type of cleaning after we remove the heavy stuff, and security. My co-workers had more than enough to do cleaning their own halls. The Diaz guys don't clean up anything that is big, or wood or metal, and the security guys don't clean anything at all. The long break me and Tom took must have been around 2 hours, estimation. In other words, we left the halls, everything full with metal and wood, returned approx. 2 hours later everything clean. Any explanation is appreciated. Story 9. So there's this old CD I cherish, a sampler called No Music, No Life from 1999. Last year, I pulled it out of my old CD case to play in the car for me and my boys. As I was climbing into the car, the CD fell onto the seat, landed vertically as I sat down directly on top of the leading edge of it, and the entire CD shattered into thousands of tiny pieces. I was heartbroken for a second, until I remembered eBay exists and immediately ordered myself a new copy and told my kids, no big deal. That new CD arrived soon thereafter, including its own jewel CD case. I've left it in that case other than when it's being played. So imagine my shock when I'm going through my old case of 96 CDs and I see it. No Music, No Life. Right next to Shaggy. I pick it up. Some normal scratches, just like my old copy had. I look across the room. Yup, the new copy. I grab the jewel case and open it, and there it is, the brand new copy. So now I have 2 copies, the old one that magically put itself together from my green garbage bin and reappeared in my old CD case, and the new one I bought to replace that one which I sat on and destroyed in front of my kids. Story 10. Okay, I have a good one. I'm still a little shaken up here. This happened this morning. I went to the gym to work out. I had a tall aluminum bottle of water I'd bought there the day before. That was my only bottle of water. I worked out and went to the locker room. Threw all my clothes into the locker and the bottle. No one was around me. Locked my locker, changed the little combo dials. There are 4 numbers and it sets to whatever you want. I went and took a shower. I come back and put my combo into the lock, open it, and there are 2 bottles of water sitting right next to each other. The new bottle was the same brand, sold by the gym, only the smaller one. It had a dent in the side of it. The water was ice cold and completely full, however the cap seal was broken. I can't figure out where that bottle came from. I know I did not have it with me. And I wondered, did I pick someone else's bottle up and bring it back? But that would have meant I was holding 2 bottles when I was done working out. Which I wasn't. Someone might have opened my locker and tossed their bottle in, but that would have meant they had the same combo as me, 9-0-0-0, and they also didn't notice it wasn't their stuff, and they also mixed the lock after doing it, and this was all in the 3 minutes I was in the shower. I dunno people, this is a glitch. I didn't drink the water because maybe glitched water is bad for you. Story 11. So for context, this happened a few days ago, before I found this subreddit. I was cleaning some clothes, got into my bedroom to sort out my laundry and place the basket on the drawer. I take some clothes out to hang up, turn away, and 1 minute or less later I turn back around, and the laundry basket is on the ground. I look at it in shock, as if I've just witnessed some paranormal BS, but I huff annoyingly. I bloody hate doing laundry, and I place it back on the drawer. When I'm done, I go out to the kitchen, get myself some food, and come back later to sleep only to notice a fresh pair of clothes neatly folded on my bed. I'm in a complete shock here, like I genuinely don't know if I'm going insane, have a ghost, or if I've blacked out. I typically don't fold my clothes, not even when putting them in my drawers. They're big enough to fit all my clothes in there, and I'm the type of guy who just takes a random shirt, t-shirt, pants, socks, etc. and go about my day, but to in the evening find a matching outfit neatly folded on my bed? What's going on here? Edit. I tested for carbon monoxide. Nothing. I don't have money currently for a camera, and I live on the 2nd floor of an apartment complex in a small apartment. I'm the only one that I know of who has a key to my apartment, and my apartment is small and has no extra rooms or anything hidden, so there's no way there'd be a person hiding in my walls, but I'll buy a cheap camera as soon as I can. Story 12. I live in the hills, and this happened back in 2024. To get to college, I had to walk down this long, steep, and kind of broken pathway of stairs that connected to the main road. It usually took me about 8 to 9 minutes to reach the bottom. I was always super careful because the path was slippery and rocky. Since I dislocated my knee and ankles before, I never rushed down that route. I had classes at 10, so I left my rented room and started walking. While I was going down the stairs, I glanced at my phone to check the time. It was around 9:40 a.m. And when I looked up, I was suddenly halfway down. I literally stopped there and looked around in confusion. I checked my phone again, and it was 9:43. The people that were behind me, they were still way up on the path. There's no way I zoned out and jumped those risky stairs without noticing. Every day, I was extremely careful because some of those stairs were destroyed and slippery. Just random rocks to step on. It was like I blinked, and the whole part just got skipped. I don't know what to call it. Delusion? Zoned out? Missing time? Fast forward? Still confuses me to this day. What do you think of it? Story 13. I had a crazy experience last month after my cousin, who worked in Hollywood for 25 plus years, passed away. I'm hoping someone out there can help me make sense of it. Long read. There's a hill I hike in Los Angeles where you can see the Hollywood sign. The day after my cousin died, I hiked up there listening to his playlist his wife sent me that he listened to in his final days. I was grieving, reflecting on our childhood, and decided to say some words to him while viewing the sign. But when I got to the top, the Hollywood sign was gone. Like really gone. I couldn't believe the timing. I assumed it was down for renovations, but I took photos and videos and even asked another hiker if I was losing it. She confirmed she didn't see it either. It was a clear, normal LA afternoon, no clouds, no sign. I texted a few people joking that he took it with him. Walking down the hill, I couldn't help but think, what are the chances that iconic sign is getting a makeover the same day my cousin dies? So weird. When I got home, I searched Google, asked AI, checked X local news. Nothing about the sign being removed or renovated. 3 days later, I did the same hike again, same time of day, same clear weather. The sign was back, untouched, not one crane in sight. I can't wrap my head around it. Glitch? Timeline jump? A sign from my cousin? That'd be a pretty big stunt to pull off less than 24 hours after passing, but he was an epic human. What do you think? I have photos/videos, can share on Imager if mods allow. Also, had anyone else had a glitch tied to a loved one's passing? Story 14. I couldn't sleep thinking about this, and I searched for possible reasons and stumbled across this subreddit. Last night my boyfriend and I did our usual run for McDonald's, He picked me up with his car, and I wore a jacket I just bought the day before and was telling him all about it. We parked next to a road, and I thought it was hot, so I took off my jacket and placed it on the roof of his car, and he placed his Marlboro next to it. Then we sat on the curb next to his car talking and smoking. He asked where his Marlboro was, and I said it was next to my jacket and pointed at the roof. It was the last time I saw my jacket. He took it, and then he leaned on the back of the car in case someone tried to snoop around and drive his car away. We went back to talking. I was still sitting on the curb. It became chilly after a minute, so I tried to grab my jacket. It disappeared. And mind you, this was at 3 a.m. at an empty road. Me and my boyfriend searched the entire area with our phone flashlight, checked the car inside, and it was gone. We were searching it for half an hour. There was no possible explanation to this. There was nobody besides us here. We were purposely looking for a quiet place so we can talk and chill together. It was a heavy jacket, there was no wind, and we didn't hear any footsteps. We thought we were going insane, so we looked at each other to see if either one of us were wearing my jacket, but nothing. Story 15. This isn't a joke. This isn't some teehee elves come in the night and taking your clothing thing, and I'm aware that clothing can shrink in the wash and that people can gain weight. I get it. I know. But this isn't any of that, and I don't know what happened or why. I keep an entire change of clothing at work: black shirt, black slacks, black leather belt, period underpants, and socks. And a black cardigan. This has come in handy more than once, mostly the underpants, although I've loaned out the cardigan to people a few times. I'm very fat, and have been consistently the same size for about a decade. I'm part of a program through my insurance which requires me to log my weight regularly, so I know how much I weigh. None of my other clothing has gotten tight. In fact, I selected these clothes because they're too big. The shirt is really baggy. I didn't realize until recently that I was buying shirts that were too large. The pants are too loose in the waist, and the legs were too long. The belt was ridiculously too long. I'd have to buckle it, then wrap the loose end of the belt around the body of the belt. I picked these clothes to keep at work, because I don't wear them. The shirt and trousers are both hang dry, which is a pain in the butt, but they're in good enough condition I didn't want to get rid of them. I had a problem at work a few months ago, and grabbed my spare underpants and trousers and belt, and went to the bathroom to change. I could barely button the trousers so loose previously that they needed a belt to stay up. The belt didn't even fit around my waist. Again, I haven't gained weight. My body shape hasn't changed. I wasn't bloated. All of the clothing in my closet at home fits the same. I tried the pants on before stashing them at work, checked the zipper and buttons, everything. They were too loose and too long, but otherwise great. The belt was super long. So how did the pants get a size smaller? How did the belt get several sizes smaller? I have 2 other pair of slacks identical to that pair. Same brand, same style, same size, purchased at the same time. The ones at home are too loose, and the legs are too long. They're the way they've always been. Again, I know that clothing can shrink. But these garments were loose when I put them in my locker at work. I know people can gain weight. I haven't. I know that bodies can shift fat around, especially during perimenopause. Hello. My body hasn't changed shape. Everything at home fits me just the same. I'm glad I was able to squeeze into those trousers, because my pants were not salvageable without a thorough washing. I've been thinking about this so much, and it's really bothering me. I'm very worried that people will think this is a joke post because it's so silly. There's a lot of reasonable explanations for this, yet none of them apply. I have audio and sometimes visual hallucinations. I'm bipolar. But this is what makes me feel crazy. I haven't replaced those trousers yet. Story 16. I read everybody's stories with great interest, and maybe a little bit of relief that usually not much weirdness happens to me, because frankly, some of them are terrifying. But this just happened the other night, and it felt like a wink or a nudge in the ribs from the cosmos, so I thought I'd share. I keep a little journal-style calendar in my bathroom, so I can keep track of what products I use in my daily skincare routine. And when it's on the counter, and in it I keep a pen that I received in a welcome packet when I enrolled for a class at the local college a couple of years ago. The pen is dark blue plastic with the college name and logo printed on it in white. Since I've been keeping the journal since January, the printing has gotten noticeably worn and scratched. The other night I came in to wash my face and do my evening routine, and when I picked up the journal, my pen fell out of it and landed on the counter next to another brand new pen from the college. Face with monocle, it's just my husband and me at home. We've had no company in months, and I only got the one pen at orientation 2 years ago, and have not been on campus since completing the course. So I have no explanation for where the second pen came from, other than it just felt like a very benevolent joke that I hope will make you smile too. Story 17. I read everybody's stories with great interest, and maybe a little bit of relief that usually not much weirdness happens to me, because frankly, some of them are terrifying. But this just happened the other night, and it felt like a wink or a nudge in the ribs from the cosmos, so I thought I'd share. I keep a little journal-style calendar in my bathroom, so I can keep track of what products I use in my daily skincare routine. And when it's on the counter, and in it I keep a pen that I received in a welcome packet when I enrolled for a class at the local college a couple of years ago. The pen is dark blue plastic with the college name and logo printed on it in white. Since I've been keeping the journal since January, the printing has gotten noticeably worn and scratched. The other night I came in to wash my face and do my evening routine, and when I picked up the journal, my pen fell out of it and landed on the counter next to another brand new pen from the college. Face with monocle, it's just my husband and me at home. We've had no company in months, and I only got the one pen at orientation 2 years ago, and have not been on campus since completing the course. So I have no explanation for where the second pen came from, other than it just felt like a very benevolent joke that I hope will make you smile too.